I kind of wanted to start out by doing a little thought experiment. If everybody wouldn't mind closing your eyes for a moment and just getting kind of comfortable with yourself, I want you to think about being in your bedroom as a child. Think of the way the cool sheets felt against your skin as you settled your head deep into your pillow. I want you to think about a time when you were sick or scared and a parent or loved one came and held you and made you feel safe. Maybe it's the memory of the smell of Vicks vapor rub, the sound of a humidifier, the taste of cherry cough syrup, as horrible as that is. Think about your first crush, first time you fell in love, first time you felt heartbreak. Think about Christmas morning or any other cultural celebration, the muffled voices of relatives talking and laughing in the other room in the background, the smell of wrapping paper and coffee being made in the kitchen. Now open your eyes, and I know as artists we tend to be a little introverted, but we're going to get weird. Take a look around at each other. And I'm going to go ahead and read you the definition of Sonder, which is the title of my collection. Sonder is the realization that every person, down to each random passerby, has a life as vivid and complex as your own. For every memory that you just recalled moments ago, each and every person in this room was recalling one just as rich and as real and as important as yours. Dozens of memories, all compiled just from this small room right here. I started out my collection because I have a fascination with this idea of Sonder. As I travel, I love people watching. I worked downtown for a bit, favorite thing, people watching. If I've ever gone anywhere, stayed in a hotel, if we're higher up, like for example, like Vegas, and I know there's gonna be people walking around me below, I'll make it a point to take the bed that's nearest the window, and it's my favorite part of the night, is to just kind of lay in bed and as I fall asleep, watch the people walking down below me, blissfully unaware that there's some weird lady watching them from the hotel room, falling asleep, wondering who they are. What I did was create a collection of people. Every landscape that you see here represents a person, and this ranges from people that are very close to me, my husband, my mom, my dad, friends, to people that I have never met or have spoken to, maybe just in a brief conversation online. I wanted to kind of span that scope and bridge that gap to explore the concept of Sonder and bring a part of their world, in this case, a specific place that holds meaning and memory to them, into mine by putting that on canvas. And then, of course, into yours or anybody else who got a chance to view the canvases and the scenes that are captured on them. It started out as kind of a fun, happy project and getting to converse with people. I mean, this ranges, like I said, from family all the way to a contestant on Naked and Afraid, who I just happened to reach out to and said, hey, you want to take part and tell me your favorite place in the world? But over the past year and a half, I think that I've kind of been working on it, it evolved into something different and took on a life of its own. I think, especially as we kind of dove into this new sticky area in our political climate in particular, a lot of the joy I found in painting fun scenes kind of turned to frustration, it turned to anger, it turned to hurt and pain. But I realized in that by connecting myself to other people and the idea of Sonder, that we can all connect to one another and foster empathy for one another. And I feel like there's been this movement lately happening that I vehemently disagree with, and that is the notion that empathy is toxic, it's harmful, it needs to be eradicated. I believe that nearly every bit of progress that we have made in our history on this planet is a product of the empathy that we feel as human beings towards one another. I think every great atrocity that we have known in our history is committed by those that lack that empathy or have wanted to cast it aside and invited others to do so. Um, Empathy makes us uniquely human. It's a product of our evolution as a thriving social species. It's found in Christian scriptures with the commandment to love your neighbor as yourself. It's in Hinduism. This is the sum of duty. Do not to others what would cause pain if done to you. Buddhism. Treat not others in ways that you yourself would find hurtful. Taoism. Regard your neighbor's gain as your own gain and your neighbor's loss as your own loss. Judaism, Islam, Unitarianism, Native spirituality, and hundreds of others, belief systems, thousands of religions. A main message is taught surrounding empathy. And I can't help but wonder how we can treat others the way that we want to be treated if we lack the ability or actively choose not to recognize and feel how others are impacted and how they feel. We may be the main protagonist in our own story, but the concept of Sonder helps you think differently about that perspective and become more open to the idea that each and every person on this planet, this pale blue dot, recognizes themselves as the main protagonist in theirs. The outside world may not exist beyond anything more real than a glowing phone screen as we doom scroll at 2 a.m. But the crying children in crumbling buildings 7,000 miles away, they have memories of smelling coffee and hearing relatives' laughter in another room. Field workers, gardeners, housekeepers that have to look over their shoulders for masked men as they try to go home to their children. They remember how their parents would let them climb into their bed after a nightmare and care for them, same way we care for our children. The woman who has been cast out and disregarded by her parents for embracing her true identity, she remembers what it's like to be 5 in bed and have her mom come and rub Vicks on her chest, just like a lot of us do about ourselves. I think dismissing this natural instinct to feel empathy and regarding it as a weakness keeps these cycles of prejudices alive and well, much like the ones that we're witnessing in real time now, without fear of interference, as it seems. It allows for hopeful compliance and complacency in the face of injustices. If it's not happening to me, then it isn't truly something to be concerned about. And this complacency of many, combined with both the implicit and direct instructions by a very loud few to view our empathy as a harmful tool to be done away with, is the fire in which totalitarianism and unchecked cruelty is forged. There's a fantastic poem by Maurice Ogden. I think it perfectly sums up the importance of being both outspoken and empathetic, and hits a lot of the points that we have talked about here. It's called The Hangman, and I'm going to go ahead and read that to you now. Into our town, the hangman came, smelling of gold, blood, and flame. And he paced our bricks with a diffident air, built his frame on the courthouse square. The scaffold stood by the courthouse side, no wider than the door was wide. The frame as tall or a little more than the capping sill of the courthouse door. And we wondered, whenever we had the time, who the criminal, what the crime. The hangman judged with the yellow twist of knotted hemp in his busy fist. And innocent though we were with dread, we passed those eyes of buckshot lead. The one cried, "Hangman, who is he from who you raised the gallows tree?" Then a twinkle grew in his buckshot eye, and he gave us a riddle instead of reply. "The one who serves me best," said he, "shall earn the rope of the gallows tree." And he stepped down and laid his hand upon a man from another land. And we breathed again, for another's grief at the hangman's hand was our relief. The gallows frame on the courthouse lawn by tomorrow's sun would be struck and gone. So we gave him away. No one spoke. out of respect for his hangman's cloak. The next day's sun looked mildly down on roof and street in our quiet town, and stark and black in the morning air, the gallows tree in the courthouse square. The hangman stood at his usual stand with yellow hemp in his busy hand, with his buckshot eyes and his jaw like a pike, and his air so knowing and businesslike. When we cried, "Hangman, were you not done yesterday with the foreign one?" We fell silent and stood amazed. "Oh, not for him was the gallows raised." He laughed a laugh as he looked at us. "Did you think I'd gone through all this fuss to hang one man? That's the thing I do. Stretch the rope when the rope is new." And one cried, "Murderer." One cried, "Shame." And into our midst the hangman came to that man's place. "Do you hold," said he, "with him who's meant for the gallows tree?" And he placed his hand on that one's arm, and we all shrunk back in quick alarm. We gave him way, and no one spoke, this time of fear for his hangman's cloak. That night, we watched with dread surprise the hangman's scaffold had grown in size. Fed by the blood beneath the chute, the gallows tree had taken root, now as wide or a little more than the steps that led to the courthouse door, and as tall as the writing, or nearly as tall as halfway up the courthouse wall. The third he took, we had all heard tell, was a usurer, an infidel. "And what," the hangman said, "have you to do with the gallows bound and him a Jew?" And we asked, "Hangman, is this one he who served you well and faithfully?" The hangman smiled. "It's a clever scheme to test the strength of the gallows beam." The fourth man's dark, cursing song had scratched out comfort hard and long. "And what concern he gave us back have you for the doomed and black?" The fifth, the sixth, we cried again, "Hangman, hangman, is this the man?" "It's a trick," he said, "that we hangmen know, to ease the trap when the trap swings slow." So we ceased and asked no more, while the hangman tallied his bloody score, and day by day and night by night, the gallows grew to monstrous height. The wings of the scaffold opened wide until it covered the square from side to side, and the monster crossbeam looking down cast its shadow across our town. And then through the town the hangman came. He called through the empty streets, my name. I looked up, the gallows soaring tall, and thought, there is no one left at all for hanging, and so he calls to me to help pull down the gallows tree. So out I went with right good hope, the hangman's tree, the hangman's rope. And he smiled at me as I came down the courthouse square through the empty town. And supple and stretched in his busy hands, the yellow twist of the hempen strand. And he whistled a tune as he tried the trap, and it sprang down with a ready snap. And then with a smile, awful command, he placed his hand upon my hand. "You tricked me, hangman," I shouted then. "These gallows were built for other men." "I'm no henchman of yours," I cried. "You lied to me, hangman, foully lied." And then a twinkle grew in his buckshot eye. "Lied to you? Tricked you?" he said. "Not I. For I answered straight, and I told you true. This scaffold was built for none but you. For who else has served me more faithfully than you with your coward's hope?" said he. "And where are the others that might have stood side by your side in the common good?" "Dead," I whispered, and amiably. "Murdered," the hangman corrected me. "First the immigrant, then the Jew. I did no more than you let me do." Under the beam that blocked the sky, none had stood more alone than I. The hangman strapped me. No voice there cried out for me in that empty square. What I hope in having this discussion and carrying it over into my work is that we can recognize our shared humanity. We can recognize that memories held in the places that you have seen, places that are shown here that others have seen, have also been holding memories for millions of others beyond even our written history. Social stigmas, constructs, wars, fake lines, dividing our planet up on a map, separating one another, dogmas. When you look at our world, and to steal some lines from astronomer Carl Sagan, this remote, infinitesimal speck in the great enveloping darkness of the cosmos, surrounded by a mote of dust suspended in a sunbeam. The idea of all the hate and bloodshed and obscure division that must be spread to become a momentary master of a fraction of a dot seems so self-important. And yet, it also underscores our responsibility to deal more kindly with one another, to feel, to be human. The demonization of empathy and the dehumanization of others who hold within themselves thousands upon thousands of those same core memories and emotions that we all closed our eyes and recalled for ourselves just a few minutes ago. Casting those away, it stifles our progression. It allows for hangman to come and go through history nearly unscathed. The awareness of Sonder, the ability to allow yourself to sit with that uncomfortability helps to shatter the illusion of being the sole protagonist in our own narrative, revealing a world that is alive with countless individual stories unfolding simultaneously. And I really appreciate you listening to what I have to say. I've gone on for a bit, so I figured if we want to talk about details in the process, I am more than happy to take that as questions. Thank you. All right. Anybody curious? It's not too hard of a concept. Lots of layers, water, and just kind of letting the paint kind of paint itself in a way, pouring water down, pouring thin paint on top of it, walking away for a while and kind of seeing what happens, and from there taking it and adding the next layer and movements, and it's a lot of fun to do. I like to think that I navigate the water and kind of control a bit where it goes, but they mostly paint themselves. So thank you guys very much. A lot of what I had mentioned kind of hinges on the concept of empathy, and what I've seen a lot lately, and I know administrations come and go and cities rise and fall and all that, but I felt so just kind of disturbed within myself and how I should be feeling about everything that I'm witnessing kind of that's happening around us, especially in our country. And I think with technology, especially, and with media flooding technology, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, which I know really nothing about, it, it's very, it's hard, I think. And I found myself diving into that to view other people as more than just a news story or somebody affected by policy. It's very easy, I think, for us to attach more labels than names to people, really. Illegals is one that I can't stand personally. They are human beings. So that's kind of, it's where this ended up going. It didn't start out so political, but by the time I started these paintings, it's kind of when everything shifted. And as I would, listen to podcasts or listen to stories, as I would paint, I just felt myself kind of getting more and more and more upset and frustrated, and it totally changed just from the concept of reaching out and recognizing, that people watching is important, and like looking at people and understanding who they are and where they're from is important. It definitely shifted that for me into, okay, this is the time where we really should be looking at people and knowing who they are and understanding that everything that we feel this person has felt in different ways too, and they are important. And I'm not saying that we should justify, you know, if someone hurts somebody or does something wrong, but we definitely need to, I think, slow down the rhetoric. So that's kind of where this evolved into. I'm not.
Can you speak a little bit about Tahoe? What name is attached to Tahoe?
Sure. Tahoe is Katie, and that, yep.
Maybe you could explain a little bit about why it's Tahoe and why it's Katie.
Sure. So Katie is one of my very best friends. So she's somebody that obviously I know, I've interacted with. I know her story and where she's from. But it's more, I didn't ask so much like, hey, tell me a story. Tell me where you think a place is really cool. The question that I posed to people was, where in this world is a natural landscape that like holds meaning to you and holds a memory for you? And I think that's important, even with friendships, that we recognize that a place in our world that we all do have to share and will be here millions of years from now holds memories. This was just the one for Tahoe, is just a street by her parents' house. It's a snowy day in winter. She likes to get away with it. And I know that thousands and thousands and thousands of other people have been down that same street. So, I mean, it spans from, yeah, the importance of friendship and people that we know, to, I'll give an example. There's another one, it's from Africa. It's from a woman named Erica. I don't know her personally. I love watching her educational videos, kind of about biology, about primatology, and I reached out to her to ask the exact same question: where in this world means something to you that holds a memory? And she shared with me a place in Africa. And again, she's not the only one that has looked at that landscape and has viewed that and created a core memory. Millions of people, for as long as some of those mountains have been there and the fields have been there, have created lives and built memories and made important moments there in that same spot. So that was kind of the idea, was bringing that connection kind of. I love that you said that too, because that is kind of the reaction I've gotten. Is not like, oh, well, this mountain, it's a little more green than, you know, or this, you made this sky too blue, or it's weird looking. It was definitely, you have captured the feeling of this place that is important to me. And even though I didn't really dive into a lot of depth about like what particular memory do you have here, it was, okay, let me take this and, yeah, layer onto it and create kind of my version. Since I'm bringing that place and that memory into my own world, let me kind of do that in my own way too, and interpret it. It's like watching somebody else's dream in a way, you know. And that was an interesting response I think I got from another person that was here on opening night, was that same Africa piece. And immediately before reading the tag, she asked, is this Kenya? Is this in Africa? Yeah, it is. She's like, this, she's like, I can smell the memory of being there from this painting. And that, I mean, I don't think I could have asked for a better reception on that. So you hit the nail on the head. It is about feeling. Okay. All right. Thank you very much.